We want to start our first encounter in which we are going to speak about spirituality with a biblical phrase that we took from the letter of St. Paul to the Christians of Corinth. Paul says, "The person without the Spirit does not accept the things that come from the Spirit of God, but considers them foolishness and cannot understand them because they are discerned only through the Spirit." Starting with this biblical phrase, it opens our journey in which we are going to discover today what spirituality means, to go on and see what the spirituality of St. John Bosco means for us today. Let's start first with some definitions of what spirituality means today. To know what exactly spirituality means, I gathered something like 6 definitions who talk each one in a different way of what spirituality means. The first one is of Gans. Spirituality is a lived experience, the effort to apply relevant elements in the deposit of Christian faith to the guidance of men and women towards their spiritual growth, the progressive development of their person, which flowers into a proportionally increased insight of joy. Some interesting elements here. A lived experience. It's something we live our spirituality. It has to be a living spirituality, not something theoretical. It helps us, the spirituality, to grow in our spirituality. The more we think and the more we do, we grow in our spirituality. And at the end, Gans says that it helps to be joyful. Spirituality is not something that leads you to depression or to be not cheerful. No, spirituality has the characteristic to help you to become joyful and to enjoy life. The second definition is of O'Brien. Spirituality has to do with our experiencing of God and with the transformation of our consciousness and our lives as the outcomes of that experience. Very interesting that the word he chooses to talk about spirituality is experiencing God. He does not say that it is an encounter or that you can pinpoint exactly where it is. It is an experience, a general experience of God, of the divine. This can be in nature, that can be in persons, it can be everywhere and at every moment. And he adds that this experiencing of God leads to the transformation not only of our mind, of our consciousness, but also of our lives. Our lives will be changed when we experience in spirituality God. The third definition is the definition of Salier in his book Spirituality. Spirituality refers to the lived experience and a disciplined life of prayer and action, but it can not be conceived apart from the specific theological beliefs that are ingredients in the form of life that manifest authentic Christian faith. Saliers is underlining very much the aspect of the Christian faith and the prayer life. Spirituality, someone is growing in spirituality if he has got a disciplined life of prayer. So, nourishing the vertical relationship with God is very important to develop a spiritual life. But he adds that not only the prayer is important, but also the action. Action and prayer are going in spirituality together. Something that you live with God, your relationship, has got effect on the way you act in this world. The fourth definition is the definition of Sheldrake. He underlines some very interesting things. He talks about spirituality as an individual, but also collectively lived spirituality. This means that we personally can have our spirituality, but also belong to a bigger family of spirituality, like the Salesian spirituality. Individually and collectively, we personally appropriate the Christian traditional beliefs about God, humanity, and the world, and express them in terms of our basic attitudes, lifestyle, and activity. So, what we believe, the spirituality we have, changes our basic attitudes, changes the way we see God, we see the world, we see humanity. And our attitude change, our lifestyle change, everything we do change because we believe and we have a certain spirituality. These basic attitudes are thus influenced or by our individual spirituality or by the collectively lived spirituality. So the Salesian spirituality has influence on our basic attitudes, on our lifestyle, and on our activities. The fifth definition is the definition of Springfellow. Whatever else may be affirmed about a spirituality which has a biblical precedent and a style, spiritual maturity or spiritual fulfillment necessary involves the whole person, body, mind, and soul, place relationship in connection with the whole of creation throughout the era of time. Biblical spirituality encompasses the whole person in the totality of existence in the world, not some fragment or scrap or incident of a person. Very interesting is that he adds something to the previous definition we saw. It is a style in which someone lives. The spirituality has got an influence on how he thinks and how he acts in the world. And Stringfellow says it involves the whole person, body, mind, and soul, place, and relationships. So he's going very specific that not only your body and your mind, but also your soul, the place where you live, the relationship you have, are influenced by this spirituality, your individual spirituality or the collective spirituality. He also stresses that spirituality for Christians has a biblical root. That's why we started with this passage of the Apostle Paul, who says that someone who has no spirituality cannot understand the same things. Spirituality embraces the whole person, the totality of the existence in the world. The sixth definition is the definition of Geyser. Spirituality refers to the unfolding day by day of that fundamental decision to become or remain a Christian, which we make at baptism, repeat at confirmation, and renew each time we receive the Eucharist. Going deeper into what it means to be a spiritual man or woman, Geiser says that it is unfolding day by day. It's something that we live every day, not only on Sunday, but every day of our life. And that it is a decision to become and to remain Christian. Being Christian is a decision we make at our baptism or later on when we realize our baptism. We repeat that confirmation and we have to renew each time we receive the Eucharist. After this all, we can conclude that spirituality is not something static, but something dynamic. It changes from day by day. It changes in the course of time. It changes as we go on the path towards becoming more spiritual persons. We gather experiences in our backpack, and these experiences have an influence on how we see and how we live spirituality. The second conclusion to which we can come is the fact that spirituality is not the same for all people, because every experience is singular, and my experience of God, of the divine, is not the same as the experience of the other ones. The third conclusion to which we can come is the fact that spirituality is not faith taught, but faith lived. It is in daily life that we realize and develop our spirituality. Spirituality is the path we have to go as a Christian after one or more, after the encounter with God. This is what signs spirituality. My encounter with God, my encounter with the ever new revelation of the Lord. Spirituality has something to do with our own history, with our own background, with the experience we have. That's why the spirituality of every person is authentic. Because the history of every person is different. The background we have as a person is authentic. The experience we have is unique. This makes our spirituality unique and not the same as our neighbor. Now that we have cleared the concept of spirituality, we have to clear another concept. And this is the concept of who Don Bosco is. When we ask the artificial intelligence who Don Bosco is, we see something about his life and his mission, that he was born on the 16th of August 1815 in Castelnuovo d'Asti, nowadays Castelnuovo Don Bosco, that he invented a preventive system with religion, and amorevolezza, that he founded two congregations, the Salesians of Don Bosco and the Daughters of Mary Help of Christians, that he was canonized. But who was Don Bosco really? I want you now to put this video on pause and think for 5 minutes and write down for 5 minutes, who is Don Bosco for me? What does he mean for me? What is Don Bosco in my life? And then I want you in these same 5 minutes to reflect, who is Don Bosco for my institution, for my school, for the house where I work? Who is Don Bosco for this institution? What does he mean? How is he present? Clearing the concepts. The first part, what is spirituality? The second part, you thought about who is Don Bosco for me and who is Don Bosco for the institution that I work for. The third part and the last part, we have to put the concepts together. But this is exactly what we're going to see in this course. What is the spirituality of Don Bosco? When we talk about the spirituality of Don Bosco, we have to divide this spirituality in three main areas. The first one is the spirituality of Don Bosco for himself. What was his spirituality? Because this part has an influence on the two other parts we're going to see. Because Don Bosco developed a kind of model of spirituality for the young. Just think about Domenico Savio, Michele Magone, Francesco Bisucco, and all the others. But Don Bosco developed also a kind of spirituality for the adults. We have to think about the spirituality of the Salesians, of the Salesian sisters, of the Salesian cooperators. So first we will see, what is the spirituality of Don Bosco? How did he form his spirituality? What have influenced his spirituality? Then we're going to see in the second step, what is this proposal of Christian life? What is this spirituality he proposes for the young people? And in a third moment, very briefly, what is this spirituality that he is presenting for the adults? We're coming to the end of our first encounter. In this first encounter, we cleared some concepts. The first concept was the concept of spirituality. The second concept was the concept of Don Bosco, in which you reflected on who Don Bosco was. We want to end now with a little assignment. This assignment is to go and look in the reality where you're living and where you're working, and the institution, in the school, in the house, in the daycare, in this setting. Where are the signs of spirituality? Where are signs of spirituality? Do you do a good night talk? Do you do a good morning talk? Are there Salesians who represent the spirituality? Are there priests? Are there nuns? Are there... What are the signs of spirituality in the setting where I'm working? Do they celebrate the feast of Don Bosco? Is there a drawing of Don Bosco on the courtyard? All these signs that refer to the spirituality of Don Bosco, of the Salesians, are important to know what we have already. I want you to reflect 5 minutes and to make a list of this is the Salesian spirituality that is present in the setting where I'm working. And I want you to share it on the forum on the Moodle platform.